Let me tell you about a situation that stopped a home sale completely, and honestly, it catches people off guard all the time. My name is Ann Boyce, and my brother Adam and I run Flock and Company Real Estate in Central Florida. In 2021, our father passed away, leaving us a property to inherit out of state. And then a few months later, unexpectedly, our mom passed away, leaving us a property in the state of Florida. Our goal is to help families who are going through a similar situation with respect, care, and compassion. I was working with a woman, let's call her Sarah, because I don't want to reveal anyone's personal information, and she was trying to sell a house that was owned by her mother who had passed away a few years ago. She was ready to move on, the house was ready, and from her perspective, everything should have been able to move forward. And then we got to title, and that's where everything changed. When homestead was determined, we looked at the ownership and found out the property wasn't just hers to sell. It was split into three equal shares that she had no idea. It was left to her stepsister as well as a deceased family member, so in the estate of. So she owned one third, another person owned one third, and the last one third belonged to someone who had already passed away. And she thought, okay, no big deal, I can just move forward, sell the house, and put the proceeds into the estate and then distribute it once everything was settled. But you can't do that. One, a person who has passed away can't sign anything, so the estate of who that person belonged to needed to agree, which was extremely difficult. And so, even though Sarah was handling everything, she hit a wall. And the really frustrating part was Sarah was doing everything in her power to get the sale to move forward. She was calling people, she was constantly contacting her probate attorney, and unfortunately, the probate attorney didn't really have answers for her that were helpful because they kept saying that she could easily sell the property, and that just wasn't the case. So she was working really hard to get in contact with the other two owners. But unfortunately, legally, she couldn't do anything. She couldn't get clear title on the house until the other two parties agreed. And because the third party was the estate, there were more people involved because it was a deceased person's name. So, what does that actually mean? It means the house wasn't ready to sell yet. You cannot sell a house without having clear title. And in this case, it wasn't going to sell until she got both additional parties to agree. Once they found out property was involved, the second heir wanted to come down and see the property first before agreeing to sell it. And then the third heir, because it was an estate, had multiple people wanting to do multiple different things. So unfortunately for Sarah, nothing was simple. So the deal didn't just slow down, it stopped completely. She went from thinking she was selling her house within 2 weeks to having everything she stopped, and there was nothing she could do about it. Something that's not always explained clearly is that just because you are named personal representative does not automatically mean that you can go and sell the house. If there are other heirs involved, all parties need to agree. So, unfortunately, in Sarah's case, because title did not come back clear, we did have to cancel the sale, and because it wasn't through fault of her own, where she was led to believe she could sell the property, we did end up just canceling the entire transaction for her. And this is what I want you to understand if you're dealing with an inherited property. Things can look completely fine on the surface and still not be sellable because ownership matters more than anything. I highly recommend, if you're going through a difficult situation, to work with a probate attorney who you feel comfortable with, as well as work with real estate agents who are comfortable working with inherited properties. Because even though you might want to and be completely ready to sell, that's not always the case.